What's up, everyone? Hope you guys doing good today. It's your boy, Nick Driver. You watching On Air with Nick Driver, the Nick Driver podcast. Today, we are watching a video from PragerU, and it's called The Inconvenient Truth of the Republican Party. Let's get into the video.
Racist, sexist, Republican. These words are virtually interchangeable, at least according to most professors, journalists, and celebrities. So are they right? Let's take a look at history. The Republican Party was created in 1854. The first Republican Party platform, adopted at the party's first national convention in 1856, promised to defeat, quote, those twin relics of barbarism, polygamy, and slavery. Those twin relics were spreading into the Western territories. Republicans feared that as those territories became states, polygamy and slavery might become permanent parts of American life. Polygamy, the marriage of one man to multiple women, devalued women and made them a kind of property. Slavery, of course, did the same to blacks.
So the Republican Party was formed so that you would have one man and one woman married to each other, and it wouldn't devalue women. The Republican Party is anti-slavery. Oh man, a lot of people can get mad. History can hurt a lot of people's feelings, man.
Literally. The Democrats were so opposed to the Republicans and their anti-slavery stance that in 1860, just 6 weeks after the election of the first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, South Carolina, a state dominated by Democrats, voted to secede from the Union.
Wow.
The Civil War that followed was the bloodiest war in U.S. history. It led to the passage by Republicans of the 13th Amendment, which freed the slaves, the 14th Amendment, which gave them citizenship, and the 15th Amendment, which gave them the vote.
Wow.
In 1870, the first black senator and the first black congressman were sworn in, both Republicans. In fact, every black representative in the House until 1935 was a Republican.
Wow.
And every black senator until 1979 was too. For that matter, the first female member of Congress was a Republican. The first Hispanic governor and senator were Republicans. The first Asian senator, you get the idea.
Yeah.
Republicans also kept their pledge to defend women's rights. In 1862, the Morrill Anti-Bigamy Act was passed by the Republican.
This is the thing that's crazy about the world we live in to me. Nobody wants to look. You know, I have a lot of friends that are on the left side of the aisle. I'm an independent, but I lean more to the right. And the more and more and more I learn, the more I'm going towards the right as a whole. Because when people say they're not going to vote because it's lesser of two evils, it's not the lesser of two evils. You know, it's the Democrat Party also created the Ku Klux Klan. And it's the same party today as it was back then. And people will try to say, oh, it's not. It is. And that's the part that's so frustrating when you talk to people, man. Once you start learning this stuff and you see things connect, you can't unsee it.
Controlled Congress to put an end to polygamy. In 1920, after 52 years of Democratic Party opposition, the 19th Amendment was ratified thanks to the Republican Congress, which pressured Democratic President Woodrow Wilson to drop his opposition to women's rights. In the final tally, only 59% of House Democrats and 41% of Senate Democrats supported women's suffrage.
Wow.
That's compared to 91% of House Republicans and 82% of Senate Republicans.
Not surprising.
There certainly was a war on women, and it was led by the Democratic Party.
Absolutely was.
But while Republicans had won a major battle for women.
And I'll go ahead and say this to you guys. The Democrats have always waged war on women. Look at what's going on right now in sports. You have these leftist policies that allow transgender women, biological men, to compete in women's sports. It's the same party. It didn't change over time. I'm pro women's sports. Women should compete against biological women. Men should compete against biological men. We can work the rest of it out in the weeds and the details.
Women's rights, the fight for black civil rights had a long way to go. In the 1920s, Republican President Calvin Coolidge declared that the rights of blacks are just as sacred as those of any.
Republican President Calvin Coolidge said the rights of blacks are just as sacred as those of any other citizen. Despite all this media coverage and all this crap that people want to make out some people to be racist and sexist, this is all insane to me. But this is factual information. Let's get it.
Any other citizen. By contrast, when famed sprinter Jesse Owens, a staunch Republican, won 4 gold medals at the 1936 Berlin Olympics, he was snubbed by Democratic President Franklin Roosevelt.
Not surprising.
Roosevelt only invited white Olympians to the White House. 2 decades later, it was a Republican president, Dwight Eisenhower, who sent the 101st Airborne Division to escort black students into Little Rock Central High when Arkansas Governor Orville Forbes, a Democrat, refused to honor a court order to integrate the state's public schools.
Unbelievable.
The Civil Rights Act of 1960.
And if I'm not mistaken, Orville Forbes, for some of my research, is actually the guy that inspired Bill Clinton. All this stuff is, you have to really research it, and I understand that people have their thoughts, but you can't believe everything you see or you hear from family members. You have to get out there and independently research this stuff. You have to figure out who is who here. And you have to really take into account what's the truth. Hey man, in my search for truth, I might mess up sometimes, but on this channel, I'm looking for truth, man. And this is facts right here.
Public schools. The Civil Rights Act of 1960, which outlawed poll taxes and other racist measures meant to keep blacks from voting,
absolutely,
was filibustered by 18 Democrats for 125 hours.
Wow.
Not one Republican senator opposed the bill. Its follow-up bill, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, is one of the landmark pieces of legislation in American history. That, too, survived a filibuster by Democrats thanks to overwhelming Republican support.
Right.
But you might be thinking, all that's in the past. What have Republicans done for women and blacks lately?
Okay.
The answer you'd hear from professors, journalists, and celebrities is not much.
Right.
And this time they'd be right. They'd be right because the Republican Party treats blacks and women as it treats everyone, as equals. The Democratic Party never has, and it still doesn't.
They don't.
Today's Democrats treat blacks and women as victims who aren't capable of succeeding on their own.
Absolutely.
The truth is, this is just a new kind of contempt. So there is a party with a long history of racism and sexism, but it ain't the Republicans. I'm Carol Swain for Prager University.
So Carol Swain dropped some knowledge on us right here. I knew a lot of this stuff. I didn't know every single thing about this, but this is a very interesting video in the aspect of if you listen to mainstream media and you listen to them talk and you watch TV and you see all this crazy stuff, the Democrats have always been, I'm not talking about the average voter that gets bamboozled, that gets, you can't see because of all the lies. Democrat Party has always been a slavery party. Everything in history that I've studied points to them, and they haven't changed. It's just, some of the voters don't even realize it. Hope you guys have a blessed day. Take care. My name is Nick Driver. It is a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys every day in my search for truth and actuality and a very crazy world. You guys come along with me. Let's do it together. Check out my other videos on here. Like, subscribe, comment. Let's get it, guys, man. Hope you guys have a blessed day. Talk to you soon.